wouldn't call it noise. If you don't have certain things in place before you actually introduce all of these tools, what you're introducing is a Trojan horse into your atmosphere, because systems will break and they will actually get worse.
When you get that right blend of people, tools, and automation, that's really going to give your brand the edge to grow sustainably, because you can grow erratically or you can grow sustainably. And the one way to ensure that you grow sustainably is by using that combination of
brands. Listen to me, I'm going to zoom in here. It makes no sense setting up a team and everything is dependent on you. It just completely inundates the system. It just completely handicaps the system.
Hey guys, I'm Tshili Khupe, Head of Strategic Partnerships and Growth at LTV+, and I'm joined by
Atiya. Again, I'm also from the growth team at LTV+. Here to talk to you guys a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And the way the world is at the moment, right, there's a lot of chaos all around. And one of the things that we wanted to talk about was, how we go from chaos to clarity. So looking at, the systems that every e-commerce brand needs before they scale. So what does that mean? Most brands are focusing on marketing scale before operational clarity, for example. And this is where chaos begins, because if you scale without the right systems, it can lead to inconsistent customer experience, support bottlenecks, team burnout, and much, much more, right? So at LTV+, we help e-commerce brands move from being reactive, becoming more proactive by embedding these systems, embedding those roles, and also, I guess, encompassing a bit of automation. So what are the foundational systems to get right before scaling? So Tia, if you were a brand, what's the first thing that you would want to get in place? I mean, so is it like a CRM, a help desk, or analytics? What are you looking to put in place first?
Okay. What I'm looking to put in place first, and from my experience, what brands always come to us asking for first is automation, which is great. But you can't automate if you don't have processes and the tools set up in place. What I would say first is to ensure that you have people, and you need trained people in place first, and then you can cascade down to all the other cool things that everyone wants to have equipped in their arsenal right now.
That is a very good point. Because most people, by the time they come to us, they're probably doing stuff themselves and everything else. And what they haven't thought about, they're all thinking about, what tools do I need to get in place? But you can have the tools, but if you haven't got the people, it's like buying a car without having a driver. It's not going to go anywhere. So that is a really good point.
Yeah.
So if you've got the people in place, in terms of systems themselves, what are you getting? What's the first thing that you're getting?
The first thing I'd get, especially if you're preparing to scale, would ensure that my help desk is able to adapt to my requirements. Help desks are not a one size fits all. It really takes some time to really ensure that you have a help desk that really works with what you need it to do. So we have clients that, they work solely off of Shopify, and they want certain analytics, or they want specific integrations into other platforms. So that's why shopping around and looking at different platforms to ensure that it's able to provide you with the reporting that you need to be able to keep up with your requirements. And to also, again, if you're looking at automation, you need something that's able to keep up with the reporting. A lot of people think of help desk as just, a channel to manage all your other different tools. Yeah. But it's so much more than that. Once you have the reporting optimized, you're able to really cut down the amount of time that your management team and your C-level team spends on pulling reports. So that's my one recommendation, and one thing that I think we truly need.
I love that. And I think I agree with you. I mean, a help desk, there's so many out there. So, you've got Gorgeous, you've got Customer, you've got Zendesk, Freshdesk, Intercom. There's so many out there front. And as you say, each of those will probably be suitable for a specific type of company, right? So it's not all one size fits all. And what I love about the help desks is that when you've got a help desk, it basically centralizes all your support, and you can then automate all your FAQs and all your inquiries coming through. You can do macros, tags, all sorts of wonderful stuff that you can do within these help desks. But my favorite thing about it is that it ensures visibility across all the channels. So across your phone, socials, SMS, etc., you can see it all in one place. And that is, I think, for me, a big game changer in terms of if I'm looking to scale, that is what I want to see. I want to be able to look at everything in one view and see all my customer inquiries and stuff like that. So awesome. You mentioned analytics and attribution. And again, without any clarity on what's actually driving stuff, scaling just increases the noise, right? So if you're not analyzing all the stuff that's coming in, then all it is just noise, right? You're just literally answering tickets.
Actually, I wouldn't call it noise. If you don't have certain things in place before you actually introduce all of these tools, what you're introducing is a Trojan horse into your atmosphere, because systems will break and they will actually get worse. Because the worst thing to happen in the middle of a scale, in the middle of a sale or a large ad campaign, and your team doesn't know how to use the tools correctly. Your team is unable to do specific things, or they're doing things incorrectly, or you haven't set up that tool as effectively as possible. You spoke about one thing that we always ask customers, and that's FAQs.
Yes.
That's a big part of it. You want to have a help desk, you need to have clear and concise FAQs. Those are the tools that your team is going to be using. I love a customer that says at the beginning of our call that we have all of this documentation. We have, workbooks that customers can pull from. Those are the things that I know that my customer support team, if we supply you with agents, that they're going to be properly equipped to be able to handle anything.
The other thing about FAQs as well is that a lot of people get really stagnant. They go, right, okay, so I'm selling t-shirts, so people are going to ask about size, color, delivery, blah, blah, blah. And then they just make this document, they stick it in the back end somewhere, and then they forget about it. But people don't realize that FAQs are an evolving, living thing, right? And they must be updated constantly. So when we're talking about the analytics as well, right? So you're looking at what types of questions do we receive quite a lot. You'd be quite surprised if once you actually start looking at the questions that are coming through, that you'll see that there are some frequently asked questions, which are what FAQs are, but you probably don't have those in your FAQ document because you never really thought about it, right? And you're not really analyzing it. So make sure that if something keeps coming up frequently, add it to your FAQs. That's my top tip anyway for today. Now, we know that CX automation is like a hot topic at the moment, right? And for me, I think it's only as good as the logic behind it, right? So additionally, I also think that, nowadays, brands need to blend, that whole live agent and automation, and then make the two work together. Now, what are your thoughts on that, and what are you seeing?
Blending the live agent and automation, I think that's great. That's what you should be doing. I know a lot of brands typically try to say things like, I don't want, canned responses. They don't say the word macros. A lot of brands say, I don't want canned responses. But what we need to realize is still having those automations in place is not necessarily a case where the agent is just going to repeat exactly what is set up in the response. It's more like a guideline. So what we typically train our agents to do is use those guidelines to be able to craft the response and tweak accordingly. So in case it reduces the amount of time, the amount of handling time on tickets. So whereas an agent may take about 10 minutes just to draft a response, that time is cut down significantly because they already have those highlighted points of what they are going to say, and they tweak it, they add something additional, they make it customizable based upon the customer's situation, based upon the customer's history, and things like that. So I think that once fine-tuned, it works beautifully in reducing handling time. So I'm pro-automation.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I would agree with you as well. I mean, nowadays, you can't get away from AI, automation, and everything else. But having that right blend between, like I say, live agents and automation will really, really help the business. There is a Shopify store that cut their response time by 70% after implementing like a hybrid support with Gorgeous and LTV Plus agents, right? Now, we help implement that sort of thing, because as anyone who's played around with AI knows, you've got to ask the right questions in order to get the right output, right? And if you're not asking the right questions, if you're not basically framing it correctly, you could be in a whole big world of mess. I think there were 2 companies, they're famous ones, look them up on Google, that implemented like chatbots, purely AI based and everything else, right? And then people started messing around with them and got one of them to swear at it and say that the company was very bad, as it were. So, I think it's like giving a child matches and a can of petrol. So you just have to be really, really careful, especially when anything is customer facing, how you implement stuff, right?
Yeah, I love that you use the term a child, because that's typically how we think of AI. A very smart child, but a child, you have to train that child. You can't just expect it to say, hey, you're live, you're here, do your thing.
Exactly.
Those tools need to be trained to be able to answer questions the way that you would like them to be answered.
Yeah, I would always say, you wouldn't buy a Ferrari and then just give it to someone who hasn't got a driving license, right? You've got to have the training to. I noticed I use quite a lot of car analogies there, so
yeah,
maybe because I'm a car enthusiast. Who knows?
One other point that I wanted to jump into as it pertains to automation is just to choose what tickets you automate as well. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to automate all tickets. You can decide, okay, these Wizmo requests, where's my order? That's something that we can definitely put into AI and have them handle that. A lot of e-commerce brands, you would see that your Wizmo requests are probably about 20 or so % of your tickets. So if you have an automation that's solely focused on handle those things, you can have your live agents handle the more complex niche type requests that your AI may have some trouble responding to, or maybe end up sounding a little bit too AI in their response, that you'd want that human touch with.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And what the good brands are doing is they're making sure that their chatbots are linked to their Shopify store, their 3PL and everything else. So when you are doing those Wizmo, it can be completely and totally automated without having to use a human being there. And then you're saving your human beings, your super agents, for the more complex stuff. And as you scale, that's really, really important to be able to. You don't want an agent sitting there from 9 till 5 just answering where's my order all day long. You want them answering stuff that really matters. So when you've got live chat on there, and we always talk this, and Atiya knows exactly what's about to come up, live chat really, really, really converts. It converts so well. So you'd rather have your agents on live chat chatting to your customers about questions that they have right there, right now, to help them convert, than handling stuff like where is my order. What about people and processes that you need to nail early? So, for example, what would the key roles be that you need to have in place before you scale? Is it going to be a CX manager? What do you think?
Key roles. I would say the key roles that I'm looking for is you need to designate who your help desk expert is, who's going to help you fine tune those things, because a lot of brands, I'm sorry to say it, they expect the agent, which we try to align you with agents that have as much experience as possible with the tools, but they are by no way going to be help desk experts. So you need to have that person identified as to who is going to be your champion and your expert on your tools, your CX manager, your person that is going to be responding to tickets. And that actually, do you have anything else to add to that? I may be missing some things there.
You need someone to look at the quality as well, and then the training elements as well. Who's checking the quality of the work that's being done? Who's looking at the tickets? Who's analyzing what's coming in and that sort of thing? Because it's very, very easy to think, well, okay, I've got this person, I've got an agent, and they're answering everything. But without checking in with that agent, or not checking on the quality of the conversations that they're having, without analyzing all the information that's coming through, you really can't make good business decisions. And also, you need to have an escalation path as well, right? So they need to be able to escalate stuff to. Who do they escalate to, right? So I think potentially you need a team around that. So you need an agent, you need someone who's going to definitely be in charge of CX, right? It doesn't matter whether they're internal or external, but someone's got to own it. If you don't have someone owning that, then you're missing a step. That's my thoughts on that.
Yeah.
The other thing I want to touch on as well, and I think we touched on it a little bit on the FAQ side of things, the key processes. So having SOPs and operating procedures. What are those SOPs for things like escalations or ticket routing, automation, pullback, all of those sorts of things you need to have in place. Is there anything else that you'd add on that?
Definitely, I would have said escalation processes. We've seen brands crash and burn off of having unrealistic escalation processes where it's heavily dependent on a lot of approvals. You need to trust your team. So Tshili and myself have explained the team that you need. But once you have that team, you need to trust them. Brands, listen to me. I'm going to zoom in here. It makes no sense setting up a team and everything is dependent on you. Approving, it just completely inundates the system. It just completely handicaps the system. If there's one thing that you take away now, this seems like a beg, but it is a beg because I know I understand brands and I know that I'm going off the rails right now. I understand the concerns for a lot of brands that are scaling. These are their babies. These are things that, they would have built from the ground up. And the idea of handing it over is very scary. But I'm just saying, if you hire a team internally, if you have a team on the ground, if you decide to outsource, you need to be able to trust that team. And if you don't trust that team, it's not going to work.
Yeah, amen to that. We've seen it so many times. And the strange thing about situations like that is it is very hard to let go, especially for founders. It's your baby, right? And now you've scaled to the size where, you need external help or some sort of help, right? And handing that over, it can feel very, very awkward initially. But if you're then going to micromanage everything, so imagine this scenario, you need help, you get help, right? So you've gone from 100 tickets a week to 1,000 tickets a week. And now you think, okay, I'm drowning in tickets, I need help. So you get a team that's going to help you. That team is now helping you, but you want every ticket to come to you for approval before it goes out. All you've done is just multiplied the problems that you're having, right? And we talked about bottlenecks earlier, and that sort of thing will create a bottleneck that you will never get out of, really. There's no way to scale if you're not basically going to allow automation, you're not going to allow help to actually do what it's there to do. So that's a very, very good point. Thank you for raising that.
Yeah.
So what are the final takeaways, I suppose? How do we move from chaos to clarity?
My final takeaways are a couple of things. As you said, we need to have the processes, documentation, and the rules in place. One thing about the processes, please just don't think about the pre-sales aspect of the processes. What we're going to do before the sale comes in during the sales, because a lot of brands don't think about post-sales. How much support does your product or service need after that sale is completed? Or how many of your clients are going to come back to you to ask you for assistance with setup? Yeah, that's part of customer support as well. So that's my key takeaways there. Rules, processes, ensure that you're thinking about post-sales as well, and documentation.
I love that. So it's not just pre-sales, but also post-sales. I think it's even a part of the sales process as well. Like we talked about live chat, etc. And for me, scaling your customer support isn't just about like hiring more. It's about building smarter systems very early on, thinking about that thoughtful combination between people, tools, automation. And I think when you get that right blend of people, tools, and automation, that's really going to give your brand the edge to grow sustainably. And notice we use the word sustainably there, because you can grow erratically or you can grow sustainably. And the one way to ensure that you grow sustainably is by using that combination that we talked about. So I think the right people is probably the very first place to start. The tools, getting the right tools in place. So those help desks, we mentioned the help desk earlier. Don't just get the help desk, utilize the function that the help desk has. Utilize all the automation that you can get, and then get that blend right, and you should be able to go sustainably. And that's my key takeaway.
Yep. Don't wait until the volume increases to pause and fix things.
very important. Very important. The amount of last-minute requests that you get from people. Oh my God, it's Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and you're like, well, yes, and you're contacting us a week before. No, that's a very, very important point, Atiya. Brands out there, when you're thinking about working with a partner to outsource or whatever the case may be, do think about it. It could take 4 to 6 weeks from when you sign an agreement to going live. And the reason being is you have to get the right people in place, right? You don't just want to get anyone in place to support your brand. We will work with you, we'll partner with you to ensure that we get the right person, the right fit, and ensure they've got all the training necessary before we let them loose and they go live with you. So do think about that. If you're thinking about doing it, that's completely fine, but give yourself that runway in order for things to go smoothly.
Yeah.
I think that's a great place to draw this to a close, unless anything else you wanted to add?
No, I'm good. I think I was up on my pulpit a lot today. And I hope that you guys are able to digest this sermon and take the parts that, really resonate with you guys, because that's what these fireside chats are for, just for us to be able to share our experiences and just share, our thoughts.
Yeah. It's quite, I like it. It's quite cathartic, actually, just to sit there and just chat about stuff that we would normally be talking about anyway, internally between ourselves, but to be our thoughts like that as well is pretty cool. So, no, thank you very much, and have a great day.